Good afternoon. My name is David DeMont. I'm with Samy's Camera, and welcome to the 44th anniversary of Samy's Camera No Tax Sale celebration. All week long, we're offering no tax on many products, Fuji's cameras and lenses, accessories. We're offering these great educational classes all throughout the day. Today's the first, and we're from Fuji, and we're very excited to have 3 presentations throughout the day today, sponsored by Fuji Cameras. And today we're extremely excited to have Miles Witt speaking about posing techniques. And we also have some gentlemen from Fuji. We got Michael, Barney, and Louis on the line to answer your chat questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. They'll either answer you directly or feed them to Miles to speak to if it's appropriate. And we're also going to be sharing some exclusive opportunities and prizes for you who are watching today. So stay tuned, and the guys from Fuji will be sharing that in a little while. And with that said, want to welcome everybody, and Miles, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Hey, guys. Well, I mean, first things first, Sammy, thank you so much for the opportunity, just the platform to speak here. And of course, you know, it's flattering and fun to see friends from Fujifilm on here and so many people filling in this room. So thank you guys a lot for the opportunity to speak, as well as just sort of a platform to share my opinions. And please understand that what we're going to be talking through today, I hope, is a two-sided conversation. And so that chat room really exists for you guys to interact, as well as for you to feedback. And I would love to field your questions throughout this presentation, as well as just create some healthy dialogue there. You know, as was just said, my name is Miles Witt. I'm a wedding and portrait photographer primarily, based in Bentonville, Arkansas. I've done weddings now in 42 states and 16 countries, and I employ a kind of small army of associate photographers and videographers. We sort of travel all over the place and shoot and have a lot of fun. However, this year, because of COVID, we've had the opportunity to sort of dive into more education, which has been very flattering as well as really challenging. And so I'm excited to kind of talk through, I guess, I think a safe way to put it would be my thoughts on pose in general, as it pertains mostly to working with couples and individuals. We're not going to be talking a lot about groups today, though if there's questions about that, I would love to work with those as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can kind of get started here. And we will kind of dive into it, okay? Let's see. If I can just get a confirmation from one of you guys that we have the screen share going. Yes? Says it's working.
You're good.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much. Okay, so long before we can really talk about pose as a theme, right? We need to break down this idea of what the struggle is. And I think something is happening to us as an industry as a whole right now, across all media. So whether that is portrait photographers or wedding photographers or commercial photographers, we've gotten really bogged down in this idea of rules over reactions. And so there's rules, you know, for shooting on the thirds and shooting on the fifths and center punching and, you know, eye contact versus no eye contact. And there's so many rules. And what I want to sort of set as maybe a baseline for this entire presentation with you guys is that what makes photography unique as an art form is that we're capturing a moment, not creating a moment. And we can create, there can be sort of parallels in there, but just in the most basic essence of what we're doing, we're capturing. And the reactions of the things that we're capturing are frequently more beautiful, more authentic, more organic when we worry less about the rules and more about those actual reactions. So as it pertains to pose, as we talk about, you know, posing rules and things that I try and follow, I think it's important for us to set this priority list early on by saying it is almost always going to be more important to me in a moment to focus on reaction over rule, even if that means I have to crop in a weird way, or if it means that I have to, you know, directly miss a moment, you know, from a technical perspective. Frequently my images tend to be a little soft. I love that. I love motion blur. I love stuff like that. And so you know, hang with me there, because I think this is all going to come full circle, and I really hope that you guys have sort of a neat reaction to this. So I have here my notes that, you know, frequently I think the most important thing that we can do when we talk about what a course is also talk about what a course is not. And so this is not going to be a what poses look good class. I've heard those classes until I'm just sick to my stomach with all of the, like, you know, the whisper your Taco Bell order in his ear things, right? Like all of the prompts and the cheesiness. That's not what this is. This is the why before the how. This is the why we pose, right? And as we talk through the why we pose, I think the valuable element starts to rise to the surface, that there is something about our job that's important, about understanding aesthetics and emotion and mood and just anatomical movement, and understanding ways to bring that out in a subject without just manipulating and exploiting the entire moment is something that I think will make us all better as photographers in general. So before we can dig into a lot of those things, you'll see over here on the side, it says that I want you to understand your brand. And I touch on this in nearly any workshop that I do or any class that I lead. Because what I think the disconnect for the vast majority of our industry is that we don't understand that the way that we talk to our clients, the way that we dress at our shoots, the way that we pose and direct and interact, every piece of that is our brand. It's not our logo. It's not the letterhead. It's not the website. It's not even our portfolio. It's the service that we provide. And the service always comes before the product, right? Like our subjects always walk away from a shoot having had a reaction and an experience with us that predates their experience with what the final product is. And that experience is so critical that we understand that the way that we're posing and the way that we're interacting with our clients is actually probably driving the vast majority of our brand growth as a whole. And so let me jump over here and kind of keep us going into this. So throughout this presentation, you're going to see a lot of these little screenshots of phones. And the reason for that is because our industry has shifted, like it's changed, right? Significantly changed. Actually, so much so that I pulled some stats from my website the day before yesterday as I was sort of finalizing this presentation. And on my website, 86% of first-time viewers on the website view my website via mobile, whether that's iPhone, Android, whatever, Google. 86%, that's enormous. And yet so many of us in the industry are still shooting from a classic horizontal crop concept of what is classically positioned, what is classically posed. And so many of our clients don't see our images in that way. Now, there's something to be said for us educating them and asking them to spend more time, more energy. Please, please, please. You know, I'm shooting a 100 megapixel camera here. Please view this image on the biggest screen that you have. But the reality is that being convenient for our clients is something that's very valuable. And so understanding, you know, who we're talking to and how we're talking to them is going to be just as important as understanding the nuances in pose here. And so over to the left-hand side, you'll see a few questions here. And I actually want you, if you're taking this class with me, I actually want you to like think through these, just answer these briefly to yourself. It says, who are you to who is watching? And that's sort of a hard question, but keep going, keep thinking about this. So it says, does your work and your brand align? Does the product that you're providing and the service that you're providing, do those two things parallel? What do you want your work to say? Now that has everything to do with pose, right? And we've all seen the studio photographers where things feel a little bit too structured, a little bit too in control. And yet, if that is their brand, if what they're portraying to their subjects is that we create perfection, then that's great. But if they're portraying that they want this fun, playful, lighthearted experience in studio and the work doesn't reflect that, there's a disconnect here, and we need to solve for that before we start talking about the actual rules, right? And then last, I would say, what is your target demographic? And so frequently, I'm going to talk to this through the eyes of a wedding photographer, because that's really the vast majority of what I do. However, this has nothing to do specifically with weddings. And so my point there is the higher demographics that I shoot, when I'm shooting a $500,000 wedding, a $1 million wedding, when those clients, they want to be posed less and less and less. They want to experience their days. Actually, so much so that a quote stuck out to me from a wedding that I shot 3 years ago now in Turks and Caicos. And we called the bride the week before the wedding, just sort of chatting through things. And she said, Miles, it's very important to me that my photos be about my day. I have no interest in my day being about my photos. And that hit home, because everybody on this call right now, in our world, we are the center of the universe, right? Everything revolves around our images. And those seniors, they can't graduate from high school until we take the perfect photos. Those families, they won't ever remember what their kids look like unless we capture it. But the truth of the matter is none of that actually is true. iPhone photos do a great job. They really do. Flip phone photos do a great job. Memories can be protected from sketches on a napkin. And so if that's the case, then we've got to step up and understand that what we're doing actually has more value than just capture. What we're doing is creating a service through which we're interpreting moments, and those moments need to feel on image just the way they felt in real life. And that's how we start to kind of connect pose to our brands, right? So you'll see frequently in my work, I'm very deliberate, and we're going to talk through this, but I'm very deliberate about things such as your weight placement, your hands, your eyes, and your movements in your core. Those are the things that are really going to shape the way pose feels, as well as allow for authentic movement in this kind of concept called flow posing. So we're going to dig into that a lot. Now, I just hit you guys with an entire, third year of college branding course in 10 minutes. And so I'm assuming there's going to be questions for that. And so please, if there are questions, either of the moderators, y'all just jump in and interrupt, because I would love to field those. There's probably nothing that I can say that's more valuable than what I just said. And so I want you guys to chew on that, to really kind of grasp. Is your service, the service that comes before the product, is your service so good that the product matters? Or is the product hinging on the fact that it's so good that they'll forget the service? So many of us don't want to answer that question, but I think we probably should. Okay, here we go. This gets into the meat of everything. This idea that reaction is more important than rules is going to feed the whole rest of the presentation. And I want you guys to think about all of the things that come before pose, all of the priority lists that should hit your head before you get down to the nitty gritties of pose. And here's the great thing. If you check these lists, if you go top to bottom, understanding light, motion, movement, and intentionality in your composition, your pose will probably already be set. And then it's just tweaking. It's minutia of saying hey, you've got a little bit of a double chin, or let's direct your eyes this way. It's tweaking. But if we can flow along these four things in every image, in every scenario, then the poses start to come together authentically. And authentic poses are always going to feel better. And so let's look at that from a kind of a more intense perspective. And we'll dive into these just in a second, all one by one. But if you've had a chance to read the slide there, and I'm not the type of presenter that likes to read everything on my slide to you, but I want you to start with the idea of light and try and think through the way that pose and light have to do with each other. And try and picture yourself in a situation where you're backlit, right? So let's do the classic golden hour backlighting, right? How is it that you're posing, understanding the directionality of the sun and the light wrapping shoulders and under elbows